Okay, so we are going to get started, but please keep introducing yourself in the chat, and I will introduce myself. My name is Al, and I am going to be facilitating this session. I work at ShareNet Netherlands as a communications and SRHR content officer, and I'm really excited to welcome everybody to day 2 of our cross-country COP learning exchange. Before getting into what we're all here for, I'm going to go over some technical things. And for those of you who were here yesterday, it'll be a bit of a repeat, but first, if you could please keep yourself muted when you're not talking, that would be great. And a reminder to myself and other people, we're going to need to speak as slowly and clearly as possible because we are interpreting in both French and Spanish. So we want to make it as easy for interpreters as possible. On that note, I want to make sure that everybody can access the different language channels on Zoom. So if you look, there's a small Earth logo in your settings on the bottom, and it'll allow you to select your preferred language. We have English, French, and Spanish, and there will be simultaneous translations happening. And even if the presentation happening is in the language that you speak, we still need you to select that. So for me, that would be selecting the English channel. And if there are any issues, just let us know, but that will make it easier for everybody to understand the great presentations we have today. Before jumping in today as well, I'm going to go over a bit of yesterday for those of you that weren't here. Yesterday, we had 2 really great panels from COP members about their experience working in ShareNet COPs. We also got to define COPs, look at factors for success, and discuss how to set up a new COP and who to involve in that process. And we also got to hear a lot from panelists about their challenges, triumphs, and what they like about working in COPs, both in their own country and more internationally, like what we're doing today. And then we also got a chance to hear from members of ShareNet Colombia who discussed their work working with the LGBTQI+ community in Colombia and how they do a lot of their work surrounding vulnerable populations, as well as some of their challenges and strategies in their context, which I think we can all really learn from and apply to our own work. And that session really just showed how much we all have to gain from doing these exchanges together. And a lot of people were just really excited to be able to be sharing challenges, lessons learned, and also coming together as a community here. And we will continue that today. Today, we're going to have 2 sessions, both in English with live translation. I'm going to let most of the speakers speak for themselves, but just for some context about how the day is going to go. In our first session, Ives and Shannon will lead a session on COP topics that are sensitive, including abortion, gender-based violence, contraception, and pleasure. And in our second session, we're going to hear from Janat, who did a wonderful job facilitating yesterday, and Ketty about menstrual health. At the end of the event, I'm going to lead us in a Mentimeter activity, which will give us all a chance to kind of connect more and reflect and also share more about the event, what we've learned, and the future of all of our work in SRHR. I think, yeah, and in the chat, we also have just some housekeeping and house rules that Ame is sending in. And I think actually, since we're running a little bit late, I will just get going and give the floor to Shannon and Ives, excuse me, who is from ShareNet Burkina Faso, and Shannon is from ShareNet International and ShareNet Netherlands. And they will be talking about the COPs in Burkina Faso and ShareNet Netherlands that work on sensitive topics. They will also be sharing with us some knowledge products created and activities done in the past year by these COPs on GVB, drug consumption, and SRHR, safe abortion, and sexual pleasure. This presentation will be mostly in English. There will also be some French, and please feel free to ask questions and contribute in whatever language you're comfortable in. But please wait until the speakers give you the green light to start asking questions. And in the meantime, please feel free to write in the chat. Now I am just going to give the floor over to Shannon, who will do a better job explaining than I will. Shannon, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Al. You did a great job. So on behalf of my colleagues and our COP members at ShareNet Burkina Faso and ShareNet Netherlands, I welcome you to today's first session, which, as has been mentioned multiple times, is on COPs working on sensitive topics. Al, could I ask you to please share our presentation? Thank you. Um, Before we begin, I would like to address that we have taken a very broad understanding of what constitutes sensitive topics. And that is because I feel sensitivities are quite an interesting concept in itself. In some cases, something is deeply sensitive because of the damage it causes to the health and well-being of the people involved. In other cases, it's sensitive because of how it fringes on or even compromises the ability to freely exercise your uh, rights. And in others, it is sensitive not because of how we as SRHR practitioners view its importance, but rather the sensitivities of opponents and anti-rights actors who we often work with. And in yet even other cases, it's sensitive because it forces us to reevaluate what we consider to be essential SRHR, to really look at how far we've come in our movement and to talk about issues that would have maybe been considered luxuries, but are actually really necessary. Um, so I think working in and for SRHR it means constantly pushing against glass ceilings, pushing out of comfort zones, and doing deeply personal work. Working in SRHR is working on sensitive topics, but for the purpose of this session, we will be talking about four such issues, and that is gender-based violence, drug consumption and its impact on SRHR from Burkina Faso, and then contraception and abortion and sexual pleasure from the Netherlands COPs. With that out of the way, I will now get into these topics and the important work that our COP members have been doing. Next slide, please. Thank you. So in Burkina Faso, gender-based violence is a problem that concerns a majority of women, and this violence manifests in many forms and can be physical, moral. Sorry, could you go back to the previous slide? Thank you. Can be physical, moral, psychological, sexual, and related to cultural practices, or a combination of all of these factors. Adding to that, the country faced a terrorist attack in January 2016, which caused over 2,000 deaths and increased internally displaced persons, most of whom are women and children, and this further increased experiences of GBV. The ShareNet Burkina Faso COP on gender-based violence has come together to discuss, share, and use their diverse experiences of working on this issue to promote the abandonment of gender-based violence at a national and local level. This COP's larger objectives have been to facilitate collaboration between actors who are working on GBV, to increase the interest of the population in this topic, to increase its importance, to develop knowledge products that can help inform GBV work, and then also further disseminate that knowledge and the best practices that they compile, to continue advocating for improving policy and practice that directly impacts how GBV is worked on and experienced, and of course, to strengthen social mobilization and communication on GBV. And just not too long ago, in December 2023, the COP organized a film projection on GBV with a discussion for members. And some members did share their experiences on GBV in school environments and in the environments as internally displaced people. Now, before I go to the next slide, that will be an excerpt from a video series that was created as a knowledge product by ShareNet Burkina Faso. This video is in French, so that's a heads up to the interpreters. And in that video, Sai Bata explains that in her locality, there is a lot of GBV that's caused by a security crisis. And she describes the different actions that their association takes to prevent GBV. And this is akin to sensitization trainings and capacity building. So with that, I will ask you to go to the next slide and play our video, please. Thank you. Al, I think the audio, yeah, the audio is, yeah.
One sec, I'm going to try to fix that. Sorry.
Thank you. Maybe you can stop sharing your screen and reshare it with the audio enabled. Thank you. While we wait for the video to start playing, just for all of our attendees here, if you do have any questions or any points or just any thoughts while we give our presentation, please do write them in the chat, and we will take them up in the discussion at the end of this session. And as mentioned earlier, please ask your questions in whatever language you feel comfortable, and we will address it as is.
Sorry, we're fixing it. If you give us 1 more second.
No worries. It wouldn't be a virtual meeting without technical difficulties, I feel.
We are nearly there. 1 sec. Okay, I am going to try one more time to
Mhm.
share it with audio, and then we have a backup plan of me trying it from her
Thank you.
computer afterwards. Sorry. Like Shannon said, it would not be an online meeting without the difficulties. Um,
Thank you.
Au niveau de la région du Centre-Nord, la crise sécuritaire a exacerbé la situation des violences basées sur le genre. Bien vrai, les violences basées sur le genre, ça existait, mais avec l'insécurité, ces 6 dernières années, nous avons constaté qu'il y a une augmentation du nombre de cas de VBJ dans la région du Centre-Nord. Les violences les plus courantes sont celles liées aux agressions sexuelles, notamment les viols. Au moment des déplacements, au niveau des sites de PDI, généralement les femmes et les filles sont victimes d'agressions sexuelles Et il y a eu plusieurs cas de viol qui ont été rapportés à notre niveau. En plus des cas d'agression sexuelle, nous avons les violences psychologiques qui traumatisent bon nombre de femmes. Il y a beaucoup de femmes, surtout déplacées internes, qui souffrent parce qu'elles ont subi des violences psychologiques. Et on peut dire aussi que les violences culturelles persistent. Les violences culturelles telles que les mariages forcés et puis l'excision, toutes ces formes de violence-là persistent au niveau de la... Au niveau de notre association pour prévenir les cas de VBG, nous avons mis en place ce qu'on appelle les femmes relais communautaires VBG. En fait, il s'agit des femmes qui vivent dans les communautés à haut risque, c'est-à-dire dans le milieu PDI. Parmi les PDI, nous choisissons des femmes que nous formons en matière de droits humains et plus précisément sur les questions de violence basée sur le genre. Et ces femmes relais communautaires VBG leur constituent, nous, nos yeux et nos oreilles au niveau des sites de PDI. Et elles nous signalent à chaque fois qu'il y a un cas de VBG afin que nous puissions prendre en charge et ces survivantes-là. Et en plus de cela, nous sensibilisons parce que nous avons remarqué que la plupart des femmes ou filles victimes de violences basées sur le genre sont des personnes vulnérables économiquement. Donc nous sensibilisons les filles afin qu'elles puissent éviter les pièges, surtout les tontons gentils, les cousins gentils qui sont dans les familles et qui sont le plus souvent les auteurs de ces violences basées sur le genre. Et pour prévenir aussi, nous renforçons, nous formons ces filles-là en métier manuel afin qu'elles puissent être indépendantes économiquement. Parce que lorsque la femme ou la fille est autonome sur le plan économique, alors elle peut résister contre les violences basées sur le genre, en plus des connaissances que nous leur donnons.
Thank you. I think these knowledge products will also be available online, and we will share the link for them after this meeting in the follow-up. Now we move to another COP from Shenet Burkina Faso on drug consumption and its impact on SRHR. Recently, Burkina Faso's status has changed from a transit state to a consumption country. And as a result, there are more drug users, and a large number of them are adolescents and young people who are now increasingly dependent. Many factors explain drug consumption, and susceptibility to usage are typically a combination of factors like individual proclivity, the environment of the consumer, and the availability of the drug. This does indeed have a huge impact on SRHR, as drug consumption does not guarantee responsible sexual behavior and compromises decision-making abilities, and it also creates risks in a person's sexual and reproductive health. To combat this, ShareNet Burkina Faso has gathered a diverse range of organizations, from civil society organizations and NGOs to ministries of security, education, and health, who are now members of the COP and are working quite actively on the intersection of drug consumption and how it impacts various aspects of SRHR. And the COP works to strengthen the collaboration between all of these organizations that work at this intersection, of course, increase the interest of the population in this topic, and increasing its priority as something that needs urgent attention, and develop knowledge products, disseminate this knowledge, and also document and share best practices that can be used to increase the advocacy for improving policy and practice, and of course, strengthen social mobilization and communication to prevent the consumption of drugs and how it impacts SRHR. again, just very recently, the COP organized a meeting to discuss the role of parents in the movement to combat drug consumption. Now I will play another video, and this video will again be in French, just a small heads up to the interpreters. This is also a short excerpt from a larger video series. In the video that we are about to play, Dr. Bryce explains the consequences of drug consumption, and he also details a bit the different types of drugs that have been found in Burkina Faso. Yes, could you please go to the next slide? Thank you.
L'impact de la drogue sur la santé des jeunes relève en fait des conséquences ou des effets secondaires de la drogue sur leur santé physique et mentale. Premier point déjà sur la santé physique, déjà ce que ça peut entraîner sur le mental, c'est des insomnies, des tachycardies qu'on va appeler des palpitations, un syndrome de manque qui est assez diversifié. Et ce syndrome de manque peut aller à des sueurs profuses, une fièvre, des diarrhées et autres. Et généralement, ce syndrome de manque pousse certains jeunes à effectuer en fait des vices qui vont impacter sur un échec social. Et ces vices-là, c'est que la drogue favorise l'accroissement de la délinquance et peut-être la prostitution chez certaines filles. Grosso modo, on peut se résumer à ça. Lorsqu'on est dans cette gangrénage, ça entraîne plus ou moins un échec scolaire. Et c'est généralement cet échec scolaire qui est mis au premier plan et qui permet souvent aux parents d'aller chercher la cause même de cet échec scolaire, et on tombe généralement sur la consommation de la drogue. Au Burkina, on a répertorié quelques types de drogues qu'on connaît assez bien. C'est vrai qu'on n'a pas fini d'étudier toutes les drogues qu'il y a au Burkina précisément. Il y a le premier élément, c'est la cocaïne que les jeunes utilisent. Actuellement, ce n'est pas sous forme de poudre, mais sous forme d'herbe qu'ils utilisent pour pouvoir fumer. Ils n'inhalent pas ou ils ne sniffent pas en termes simples. Il y a le deuxième élément qu'ils appellent le crack. En termes morés, ils appellent généralement le kougri, qu'ils utilisent aussi pour se mettre bien ou encore pour pouvoir planer. C'est essentiellement ces deux types de drogues qu'on voit qui sont assez fréquents. Les autres, nous sommes toujours en train de faire des études et des recherches là-dessus, sur le plan national, pour mieux comprendre ce qu'il en est et partager avec tout le monde.
Thank you. Like I said earlier, these videos, the excerpts of which we played, they're part of a larger video series and will be available online. So we really encourage you to really watch all of these videos to get a better sense of the context in which these COPs are working. And now we zoom out a bit and go to the Netherlands. And the first COP I'll be talking about from Shenet, Netherlands is the COP on contraception and abortion. As all of us are aware, advocating for comprehensive abortion access and contraception access has become very essential, especially in the milieu right now, where we're seeing increasing restrictions on access to not just abortion and contraception care, but also accessing information. And there are increasing rollback of these rights. So in this context, the COP has been working as a group to address the different knowledge gaps that exist surrounding these topics, and really striving to keep the topic of safe abortion in particular on the global agenda. And amongst the many things that the COP does, the key objectives of this COP is to address the knowledge gaps that exist and create a convening space where Shenet Netherlands members who work on this topic can come together and discuss latest developments, also the strategies that are being used by organizations and different actors to really combat these restrictions, and of course have a safe space for conversation and learning. And in the last year, while the COP has not been very active, we did have in the run-up to International Safe Abortion Day in September 2023, the COP organized a two-part event series on the topic of crisis pregnancy centers, the first of which was an online meeting titled Anti-Choice Crisis Pregnancy Centers, Big Tech and Safe Abortion. And this was a webinar that included speakers from ShareNet International and Netherlands. And this was organized with Shake the Dust, who is also a ShareNet member. And we also had speakers from Center for Countering Digital Hate, Women on Web, and Abortion Access Front. And really this meeting was to talk about how abortion rights and information really intersects with digital rights and SRHR, and how increasingly what we have been seeing is that information is being heavily censored online, and how big tech, and here we specifically call out Google, the kind of role that Google plays in the restriction and censorship of information. But it's not just a censoring of pro-choice organizations and movements, but it's also a failure to keep in check the anti-choice movement. And this is where we specifically spoke about crisis pregnancy centers, which we prefer to refer to as fake abortion clinics. And essentially what has been found is that when any user goes online to really search for information on abortion, they are directed to these crisis pregnancy centers, which are often just fake abortion clinics, which are run with the sole purpose of discouraging abortion seekers from actually going ahead with an abortion. And this webinar was really talking about how these restrictions, how the promotion of these CPCs and the restrictions of organizations who are actually working to promote safe abortion is, there's a huge discrepancy between it. And this webinar, which is available online for those of you who would like to watch it, this webinar was then followed by a mapathon. Could you please go to the next slide? Thank you. Which is, it's about a global abortion map, which was made by one of our members, Shake the Dust. It started off as being centered in Europe, and it's essentially to map all of these fake abortion clinics so that abortion seekers are fully equipped to know that perhaps an abortion clinic they are going to get comprehensive abortion care might not be offering that. What started out as a map which was documenting all of these fake abortion clinics in Europe has now expanded to a global map. And this is a crowdsourced map, which means that any one of us can log in, can go to this map and start contributing to it. And as you can see on the map, it's very much populated in Europe right now, but is slowly expanding to Africa and a bit in the US as well. We would really recommend you go visit this map and see how you can contribute to it, because this is very, very essential information. Yeah, thank you. Can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. And now I'll talk about the last of our sensitive topics, which is sexual pleasure. And this COP is one of our most active COPs at the moment, and have really come together to showcase how sexual pleasure and sexual well-being can be put into practice, and how pleasure positive and pleasure affirming values are very important as something that needs to be incorporated into SRH programming. And what the COP does is kind of get together information resources on sexual pleasure and also share it with the rest of the network. And this is a lot about sharing the latest developments on what pleasure-focused and pleasure-affirming comprehensive sexuality education really means, and really providing increased access to the state-of-art resources and research available. The COP has also been kind of investigating and developing ways on how the concept of sexual pleasure and sexual well-being can be put into practice, specifically in sex education, but also in terms of service delivery. And of course, exploring gaps in research and how the impact of integrating sexual pleasure in policies can be done, and defining research questions and promoting and encouraging research into sexual pleasure, which we find is often lacking. The COP created a wide range of resources which can be found on our website. Some of these are a sexual pleasure checklist. There's the Beyond Bananas Guide. And the Beyond Bananas Guide was a scoping review that was kind of done after realizing that while the language that we use to talk about sexual pleasure has evolved, images are yet to catch up. And a scoping of, could you go to the, yeah, thank you. And the scope essentially revealed that the images that we often use, especially in content, in any kind of SRHR content creation, or even in CSE, don't show the full breadth of pleasure positivity and are often very clinical and don't prioritize pleasure as something that is very integral to any kind of sexual activity and sexual exploration. So from that sprung the Pleasure Bank, which was launched last year, which is a open access library, which houses a very wide variety of images that can be used by anyone. These are on the Creative Commons, so they're available to use by anyone in the SRHR space or even outside of it who is perhaps sick of using images that don't fully cover the breadth of their work. And the Pleasure Bank is a website and you can access it, but what we've also increasingly seen is that it gets censored and often faces restrictions on certain networks in certain countries. So in case you're not able to access the Pleasure Bank itself, we have a link tree which you can go to. And if I could ask you to go to the next slide, please. Yeah. You can go to our link tree where we do have some resources which you'll be able to access. It'll tell you a bit more about why resources like the Pleasure Bank are very important. How can you access and use the Pleasure Bank? And also if you are an illustrator or an artist, how can you contribute to it by increasing the gallery of images that we have? And everything you need to know about pleasure-focused and pleasure-positive imagery is all available. So we would really encourage you to go check out these resources and also give us feedback. Yeah. And that was it from my end. I feel like I have been talking a lot, even though I did get a nice break in the middle. I really thank all of our COP members who have been working on these topics and have produced very important knowledge products. And if you could go back to the previous slide, please. Thank you. Now I would like to also invite Yves, who helped me develop this session and is from Shenet, Burkina Faso, and can perhaps speak more to the activities and the work of the Burkina Faso COPs. Yves, are you here?
Yeah, thank you very much, Shannon.
No, thank you for letting me talk about the
Okay.
work that you've been doing.
Okay.
Do we have any questions that we could address? Any questions about these topics specifically, or perhaps if in your context you have also been working on similar topics and would like to share your experiences with us, that would be
Okay,
excellent.
thank you very much. How I have worked on different sensitive topics, particularly in our context, we have crisis security. And in the first video, we have a lot of gender-based violence in our local context. So different member has a lot of strategy prevent these violence in our community. For example, we have sensitization, and most of the time we have how to develop a worker for displaced international person. And also regularly we try to share our experience of different member working in local community. And for drug consumption, the phenomenon increase in our local context. But the main problem, the main challenge is how we can deliver a service for drug users. So we try to give advice to the different parents how they can help their children to prevent drug use. This is what we work in our local context. And also we have another sensitive topics. In our local context, we have a CDP on abortion according to law, because that we have some precision in our local context. We authorize abortion. We have some condition. Firstly, we have 4 conditions in our local context. And regularly with a member, we try to discuss how we can make a advocacy to reduce these 4 conditions, because abortion, according to law, must be available for each woman. So this is the experience I will want to share for the different members, the different participants, and also we are available for any question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yves.
Mm.
Is there anyone from perhaps the COPs that we've spoken about who would also want to share their experience? Okay, I think there are no questions as such. Yves, if I could just ask you, or if anyone else would answer, um, what are your plans for the coming year for the COP on drug consumption and its impact? Sorry, you're on mute.
Okay, sorry. So for this year, we have to realize our action plan, because that each COP in our context has a action plan, and together we try to achieve it. So for this year, we will continue to realize a lot of knowledge product, especially a video to summarize the different type of drug in our local context. Another video to show the different service where we can find solution for the therapy for drug user, because that is really important for the population to have the best information for the different service in our context. And for the GBV, we will continue to discuss and to do the mapping of different type of violence, because that with the crisis and the displacement of the different population, we have other kind of violence, and all, for example, government and social civility work together to find a solution for these problems. So this is the plan for this year. More of video, more of knowledge product to sensitize, because that the information is the main solution to prevent lot of things.
Yeah,
Mm.
thank you. I also see there's a question in the chat, which I think you could answer. What are the conditions for abortion in Burkina Faso?
Okay, we have 4 conditions. The first condition is incest, the incest. The second condition is the rapt. But for the rapt, we have to have evidence for the rapt. And also when we have a danger for the women's life. And the last one is extreme pathology for baby, like malformation. This
Right.
is these 4 conditions in our local context: incest, rapt, danger for the mother, and malformation. but we need to have authorization of lawyer and the doctor before to do that.
Mm.
Yeah.
And
And,
yeah.
and also the date is 12 week. After 12 week,
Okay.
sometimes it's really difficult for incest and rapt, but for malformation and death, it's all time.
No time restriction. Okay.
Voilà.
And there's a question in the chat which also I wanted to ask you. Do you know of fake abortion clinics in Burkina Faso? Is that something that that you come across? Are there crisis pregnancy centers or clinics which kind of deceive abortion seekers?
For example, when we have a legal authorization and you can benefit abortion service, you can do that in the public and or private center.
Okay.
Because that in our system, for example, when you have unsafe abortion,
Mm-hmm.
and we have consequences, if you go, for example, hospital, they have an obligation to give you health.
Okay.
And so we call it safe after abortion. For example, unsafe abortion, we try to prevent a consequences for the future to avoid infertility or death.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I see Martine has raised her hand. Martine, are you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yes, really well.
Yeah, I think the situation in Burkina Faso is much more similar than Burundi. Like we really don't have like fake clinics, but we do have like illegal clinics or places that can do some that can work on abortion for some person, but those infrastructure can really put someone's life in danger because it's somehow here abortion is criminalized. So we've seen a lot of like illegal clinics that can do abortion for people who ask for it. But this is not a safe place because maybe criminalizing abortion don't prevent from it, but will put more people in danger. Yeah, that was I was going to say.
No, thank you, Martine, for sharing that. Yeah.
Another things, also our law criminals abortion because that unsafe abortion, you can go jail.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
For example, if you practice unsafe abortion,
okay. As a doctor, as a medical practitioner, or as a
as
patient?
doctor of
Oh.
the pregnant,
Mm,
voilà, also.
yeah. I think, yeah, I think all of the data and all of the statistics show that criminalizing abortion has no impact on the rate of getting abortions. It just makes all abortion seekers go for unsafe options, which I think is what Martine was also highlighting.
Yeah.
So thank you for also bringing that up. Is there, yeah, are there any other questions for us or even for anyone else? Okay, if not, then
Okay, so I do
yeah.
have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Wondering what is also the drug situation in the Netherlands?
That is an excellent question. I don't think I'm fully equipped to answer that, but I do know that that chemsex is now becoming a very big issue in the Netherlands. For those who don't know, talking about chemsex is engaging in sexual behavior under the influence of drugs, which is now becoming more and more common. And I think becoming very common amongst young people, and that's also it's causing a lot of problems in people seeking, not engaging in safe sexual behavior. And for I think because it's very prevalent amongst younger populations, it also becomes a lot of people's introduction to sexual activities. So again, but if there's anyone else who works in the Dutch space who can speak more about how drug consumption and SRHR interacts, I would be happy to learn more.
I can speak to that a little bit. So the thing is, in the Netherlands, drugs are decriminalized to a certain point. So you can have up to 5 grams of what they classify as soft drugs without being criminalized. So the police would just take them away, which gives people a lot more of an ability to also go get help without being criminalized. So now, because of the prevalence of chemsex, there's a lot of programs and doctors and mental health professionals that have opened their services as a part of the Dutch healthcare system to young people using drugs, and kind of, especially in the last few years, have really looked at the party scene and the club scene. And there are a lot of people at festivals and parties educating on safe sex within this kind of party space, and also consent in this party space, which has changed it a lot. And a lot of young people are seeking a lot more help because they don't criminalize the drug user, just the person that sells the drugs. And then in the Netherlands, they also have the law that no matter what you've consumed, if you go to the hospital or need medical or mental health assistance, you're never going to be criminalized for that, unless you're selling the drugs. So the infrastructure has shifted to kind of support people that use drugs, kind of get the services they need. And kind of even the general practitioner doctors here are taking like trainings on chemsex, and it's a part of the it's a part of the thing that they're actually doing in the medical system to educate about, and also adding into sexual health curriculum, which is why I know about it. So it's still a problem, but I would say there are some really good supports that are being put into place for folks.
I think, I'm so glad you brought that up, and I will come to the two people who raised their hands. But I think it's also Netherlands is quite a unique case study in how, in really like what the benefits and also what the impact of regulating drug consumption is, because as we know, with everything, criminalizing something does not mean it doesn't happen. And I think the Netherlands' approach and other similar countries to, again, not criminalizing the user of the drug, but rather the seller of the drug, is quite an interesting case study. Yeah. Okay.
I think
Rivera, yeah,
we have another question.
yes,
If I am satisfied of the law in Burkina Faso,
yeah.
uh, abortion issue is really difficult. But a lot of organizations try to make advocacy, because the vision is to legalize abortion. If we continue to have death caused by unsafe abortion, it's mean that we have a problem. But also in our context, you have to take part of the mentality of the cultural aspects. We have a lot of opposition in our local context, so we need to go step by step. For example, in the past, before to have abortion according in law, you need to have, for example, the validation of 2 doctors. But now with 1 doctor, it's possible. So it means that it's a step by step. Even if we continue to have a death caused by on safe abortion, we cannot say we are satisfied, but it's a progress. I think step by step, everyone can understand. So we need to have regularly to clarify value of the population. So I think we can have some advance.
I couldn't have said it better. Thank you. I see two hands are raised. Riverian, if you could ask your question quickly because we're running out of time. You're on mute in case you are. Okay, maybe then I will go to Khalida. Oh,
Oui, s'il vous plaît.
bonjour.
Ah, d'accord, merci. Moi, je ne vais pas revenir sur la situation du Pays-Bas, je vais revenir à la situation de la Burkina Faso. Alors, on m'en a parlé de la violence basée sur le genre. Je me suis dit que c'est une enquête qui a été réalisée. J'aimerais savoir dans quelle institution. Est-ce que c'est dans les milieux communautaires? Et puis, quand on parle de violence basée sur le genre, on s'est focalisé tout simplement sur le sexe féminin. Et quand on parle des hommes, il n'y a pas de violence dans votre pays, Burkina Faso. Quelle est la prévalence du côté féminin et aussi du côté masculin? Merci.
Ok, je vais répondre en français. C'est possible?
Yes, definitely.
Ok. Alors, il faut dire en fait que pour ce qui concerne les violences basées sur le genre, c'est un phénomène réel au Burkina Faso. Et cela est accentué davantage avec la crise sécuritaire que nous vivons. Et il faut dire en fait que dans notre pays, nous avons des organisations qui... Nous avons des sous-clusters VBG. Voilà, des sous-clusters VBG qui permettent régulièrement de faire le point. Les sous-clusters sont des rencontres des différentes organisations qui travaillent sur les violences basées sur le genre. Et régulièrement, on fait des updates de ce qui se passe sur le terrain en termes de violence. Et nous utilisons un outil que nous appelons la matrice 5W. La matrice 5W permet de répertorier tous les types de violences euh, que les populations subissent, que ce soit femmes ou garçons. Et dans le contexte du Burkina, comme vous le savez aussi, face à ce phénomène-là, nous avons d'autres types de violences en lien avec les mariages forcés. Ils deviennent souvent des solutions pour lutter contre la pauvreté dans le cas de la crise sécuritaire, en fait. Si vous êtes des personnes déplacées internes, vu la charge, d'autres préfèrent vraiment donner leur fille en mariage, voilà, pour pouvoir supporter la prise en charge de ces personnes. Et aussi, au niveau du ministère de l'Action sociale, vraiment, la question des violences basées sur le genre constitue une priorité, ce qui fait que régulièrement, beaucoup d'organisations travaillent en synergie d'action avec le ministère pour pallier à ces violences basées sur le genre. C'est une réalité, mais nous avons mis le focus sur les femmes tout simplement parce que les hommes euh, au regard de leur statut d'homme dans nos communautés locales, c'est difficile pour eux, par exemple, de dire en fait qu'ils ont été victimes de violences. Ils préfèrent vivre cela de l'intérieur, en fait. Donc, c'est de travailler aussi à ce que les hommes régulièrement aussi puissent, les hommes victimes de violences basées sur le genre aussi, puissent déclarer leur statut. Voilà.
Merci.
Thank you. I will quickly go to Khalida. And Khalida, if you could just be very quick and we'll quickly address it as well, because I don't want to get more messages saying we're over time.
This is thank you so much. This is Khalid Yasmin, working as National Coordinator, the Director General Family Planning. This is a part of and wing of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. We are so lucky to share with you that abortion is not allowed in our country. However, menstrual regulation is allowed in our country, so that the people, any female or female, any ages female can do that. And in our country, menstrual regulation with medication also allowed. However, the capable people who are trained people, they can do it. Otherwise, it is not allowed in our country. The quack and village doctor, they can never do it. However, in our country nowadays, the unmarried adolescents who are not allowed to do the menstrual regulation, I mean abortion. So my question is, as Netherlands embassy plays a very vital role in our country to meet, communicate, to advocate our government for work a lot for menstrual regulation, means MR. Now, as the girls are facing, I want to say the unmarried girls are facing that problem. So what is your suggestion, or what type of solution you are doing in that part for the unmarried adolescents who are getting pregnant during their student life or adolescent period? This is my question.
Oh, that's a heavy question. I don't know if we have anyone from the Dutch embassy or the Dutch ministry here who would want to offer any thoughts. Is there Khalida, you're on mute.
It is increasing day by day in our country. So this is a very challenging situation for us now. So do you have the COP members of the countries have any suggestion, or what actually you are doing? We can share the best practices here also. What can I put here or share with my ministry? As I have that opportunity, so I can do it from that session actually.
I think I maybe have like a clarification question just so I understand what you're asking better, and then maybe we can have this conversation after this meeting. Is that the menstrual regulation is the regulation through which you're able to offer abortion care? But now that is being completely restricted, or it's for certain populations that they're not able to access menstrual regulation?
We have the access of menstrual regulation, but
Okay.
not allowed for unmarried adolescents. That is the
Not for
problem.
unmarried. Okay.
Unmarried, yes. That is the challenge for us, yes.
Okay. I think maybe we should have a longer conversation about this. But if there are other people who also work in countries or in contexts where abortion care is restricted, and you have found ways or you know of practices to kind of go find loopholes of laws and kind of work around it, please do share your input with us. I think, Khalida, we can have a longer conversation about gathering best practices, and we can try getting that from all of the different abortion and contraception COPs. Yes, we can continue this conversation in the next session. With that, I will close the session. Thank you so much to everyone who asked a lot of very thought-provoking questions, to all of the COP members without whom we would not have had anything to talk about in this session. And of course, Yves, for letting me talk on behalf of Burkina Faso. I hope I did you justice. Thank you so much, everyone. And now I will hand it back to Al.
Hello, I am going to bridge to the next session very quickly because, yeah, we're a bit over time and I want to make sure our speakers get the chance to speak. So thank you so much, Ives and Shannon, for such a rich session and talking about things that I think not enough people are talking about. And that, yeah, I really enjoyed the session and have some things to think about myself. And now I'm going to go right over to introduce Jeanette. If you were here yesterday, you saw her facilitate, and now she will be speaking on behalf of ShareNet Bangladesh, and then Keti from ShareNet Burundi. They will be discussing menstrual health COPs in Burundi, Ethiopia, the Netherlands, and Bangladesh. And I am going to pass right over to them to keep us on time.
Thank you. Is there anyone who will share the slides?
1 second, I will check.
Yeah, thank you so much. Meanwhile, hello everyone. I'm Jannatul Munia from ShareNet Bangladesh. Who of you were here yesterday already know me. I talked a lot yesterday. Today I'm gonna do also like a bit walk down about the menstrual health situation of different countries, especially ShareNet countries, just to set the scene. As I see that everyone has a lot of interest of discussing today, so we have planned our session in a way that we set up the scene briefly in 2 minutes, and then we let our respected panelists to discuss the situation, what they have seen in their countries, and on the menstrual health topic. So yes, next slide, please. So to start with an overview of menstrual population worldwide, around 1.8 billion people menstruate every month in the whole world. They require access to water and sanitation and hygiene facilities. Each day, 800 million women and girls menstruate, comprising 26% of the global population. So sometimes we don't think about this, like 26 is a very big percentage. At least 500 million women and girls probably lack adequate facility for menstrual hygiene and management. So maybe we think about 1 or 2%, but if it's 500 million women, then we need to take this very seriously. Next slide, please. So to give you a brief example about menstrual health in Bangladesh, I'll not be focusing on what happened rather than the scenario right now, what's lacking. So we can request our COP members here to discuss among themselves and with ShareNet colleagues to what to do from our COP's end and their successes and lesson learned. So as you can see, like period cramps and embarrassment and heavy flow due to menstruation are the most common reason for adolescent girls being absent from school. So we face a lot of dropout from school. Most of the things are due to a lack of safe and private wash facilities and how to dispose the menstrual products and to change and dispose of menstrual products. Of course, there are social cultural stigma, make women feel feel like they need to hide that part of life. The organization I work in, period and menstruation are discussed regularly, but I also face difficulties when I'm talking about this in my home or anywhere else. Then we have limited access to resources. Limited knowledge results in limited access to resources. So we have lack of knowledge also. Environmental impact on lack of proper menstrual product disposal management. This has become a very big issue in Bangladesh recently. Prices of menstrual products make it very difficult for low and middle income people. So I will discuss a bit about it in the discussion session when we go into that. For now, I'll not discuss a lot. Next slide, please. Menstrual health in Burkina Faso. If you see, like 26% of women have the necessary resources for menstruation. So meaning that the rest of the women do not have the necessary resources for menstruation. Sanitation facilities in school are very rare. Adolescent girls missing school due to menstruation. Disposable sanitary pads and old cloths are mostly used. Mothers are the most common source of knowledge about menstruation. Next slide, please. Menstrual health in Burundi. Again, like 80% women do not have access on menstrual products such as pads, tampon, underwear, etc. Women leave school or be absent at least 4 days a month. If you think about it, that's a lot. Lack of water and soap make them use the same pad for a long time, which increases the risk of infection, STI, UTI. Not STI, UTI. Infection or disease due to lack of hygiene. Majority of girls lack knowledge about their body changes and how to manage menstruation. Menstruation is still a taboo in Burundi culture and society, and menstrual blood is considered impure fluid. I think this is also same for most of the countries. At least I can talk about Southeast Asia. Burundian girls are rarely taught about menstruation before getting their period, and mostly they learn it from school. So that's a positive fact, but also a negative fact that they don't know before they get the period and they are not mentally prepared for it. Next slide, please. Colombia, I always think like sitting here, I always think people in Colombia, they are very advanced and they're doing well than Bangladesh, at least in case of menstrual health. But if you look at this, Colombia has removed all taxes from pads and tampons, extending the exemption to menstrual cup. The menstrual leave policy is on the process, and it will allow women to take 1 day leave once every 26 days. So I would still say that this is commendable and a lot better than Bangladesh. But this product is still quite expensive for most Colombian women. About 30% people do not have access to proper hand wash facilities. Absent in school is very common during menstruation. Myths around menstruation, that is forbidden time for cooking, holding a baby and haircut, etc. Using menstrual cups sometimes considered a loss of virginity. This is also similar for Bangladesh. We don't encourage using tampons and menstrual cups for the same reason. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah, thank you. In Ethiopia, 72% of women and girls are unable to manage their menstruation with dignity. Oh, no, go back to the previous one. Ethiopia, right. About 1/4 of the schoolgirls have poor menstrual hygiene practices, exposed to reproductive diseases, lack of sanitary product and disposal management. In rural Ethiopia, the majority of women and girls use homemade alternatives to manage their menstruation. Cultural taboo obstacle girls to ask menstrual product even from their family. Next slide, please. Jordan, working women in Jordan are allowed to take 2 days menstrual cycle leave every month. My colleagues from Jordan can confirm this if it's true or not. I wish like we had something like this in Bangladesh. That would help us a lot, but we don't. Social taboo makes young women often refuse to acknowledge their pain and take proper care. Lack of availability of feminine hygiene products, clean water, stigma attached to buying the products in public. In public health care, menstrual hygiene is not considered as crucial as other health issues. Limited information, and then young girls struggle with cleanliness in communal toilets and school. Next slide, please. In Netherlands, so we always think, at least from, I can talk about myself, that European countries are doing a lot better if we talk about menstrual hygiene, health, and etc. But if you see that there are also like problems. There are still stigma around menstruation. School curriculum should be more inclusive, so they are not so much inclusive. We discuss on menstruation. 1 in 10 menstruators in Netherlands can afford the menstrual products. There are no open conversations about menstruation at workplace, environmental impact, to how to dispose the products. Menstrual cup can't often be used because lack of spaces in the bathrooms at workplace. Toilet facilities do not often include machines to buy tampons or pads, and stigma surrounding menstruation directly or indirectly affects menstruators' lives. So as you can see, like also Netherlands have their own difficulties regarding menstrual health. Next slide. So I have tried to collect like pictures from different countries. I mean, we talked so far about different problems. So I just wanted to give a glimpse of like there's nothing to lose hope. A lot of work has been going on in different countries. As you can see, there are happy faces in almost all the pictures. That kind of inspires me that the situation will get better. Everyone is working very hard. There are initiatives and projects in process, which is our hope. And we hope like it will get only better. Next slide. So we have tried to find some commonalities. If you can think about all the 7 countries that we mentioned, there are some commonalities. There are health risk, environmental impact, poor hygiene, limited knowledge, lack of access, financial constraint, inadequate sanitation facility. So if you look at those, every country is facing with this sort of problems. So this is very common among all the countries. We did this presentation just to give our COP members idea about where we stand about menstrual hygiene and to take this discussion from here. So thank you for listening to me. Now I would like to request my colleague from Burundi, Joanna, to take this discussion forward and to welcome our panelists. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Janet, for the presentation. My name is Keti Joanna from Janet, Burundi. And as we have seen in the previous presentation, we have seen that menstruation holds a really significant importance in the lives of women and adolescent girls. So for that, I do believe that understanding that and embracing menstruation is really key and crucial for women's overall well-being. And with that, we have seen that there are quite some challenges, like lack of private wash facilities, knowledge, and limited resources that prevent the girls to really have a good hygiene management. And for that, so we have seen that some of them like use old clothes or even mattress tips, or even some others can even go further to use scents. So we have seen that really there is a lack of knowledge, but also limited resources for that. So with that, we're gonna discuss that with our panelists, which I will gladly invite to join. We have Dr. Pachis Alahin Irambona from Janet, Burundi. But we also have Khaleda Yasmin from Janet, Bangladesh. And I would like for them to present themselves shortly so we can continue with the next points. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. And I don't know if you can see my presentation as well. I have shared my screen. I don't know if you can see my screen.
You have not yet opened the PPT.
I don't know if someone can
Great,
share my
it's good.
screen.
Now it's good.
It's good? Okay. Good. So my name is Pachis Alahin Irambona. I'm from Burundi, and I'm so happy to share with you in a practical way some of the activities that our organization, that is a member of the COP on menstruation of Janet Burundi, that is doing. Our organization is called We Up for Future. And we are currently community-based sustainable solution organization, if I can just put it in that way. We really focus more on sustainable initiative, and we have been working on menstruation for the last 4 years. So far, as you can see on the screen, those are some of the achievements we have done with our menstruation project, and the project is called Period is Not My Limitation. So far, our the objective of our project is to have zero stigma, as it have been said by Janet from Bangladesh, that stigma is a very big thing in Burundi when it comes not only to menstruation, but to anything related to sexual and reproductive health. So our objective is to have like a zero stigma, and mostly because most of our activities we led them in schools. We want to see zero school miss out and dropouts because of the lack of menstruation products. So far we have been able to train over 1,000 people on pad sewing. We have been able to lead menstruation hygiene management on over 2,500 people. We have been able to donate over 4,000 disposal pad and over 600 kits of reusable pad. And also this year, we have been able to implement our very newly project about school dispenser, and we have been able to already install 2 of them. And we have organized in the past years 2 International Menstruation Management Day, but also we lead a lot of advocacy. And those are some of the pictures from our activities. And as you can see, we have a very particular focus on students or girls in school, because we we really promote girls and women empowerment, and we believe that if a girl can miss just like 2 to 5 days every month, it may lead to dropouts and what the future will be without girls and women in the community. So we do a lot of advocacy work to help girls to access to product, especially in school. But we don't only focus on girls, we also work with minority communities, we work with albinos, we work with girls with disability. We have been able to donate pads in prisons, and we mostly lead our sustainable activities, which is the pad sewing. And we do like TOTs, training of trainers, but we also train people who work mostly in community that we go and implement that. So how did we achieve to lead all those activities? First of all, we have been able to design a guide, and the guide is a sustainable tools that we use to fight period poverty, especially in rural resources areas, not only in Burundi, because we have also been able to use the guide in DRC Congo last year. And the guide is a step-by-step guide that's mostly is have like 4 parts. It teach girls, because as you have heard in the introductions, we also have a lack of education. So it touched the most important questions about menstruation, and girls can like learn through the guide. But also it have a 2 technique of pad sewing, the hand making and the machine making. And the guide is available both in French and English, and it's very practical and fun. You can see on the picture, boys are also welcome to be trained. We don't only focalize on girl, because we believe that menstruation is not a woman or a girl topic. It should be touched by both. So this is one of the activities we led, and there was a lot of boy on that activities, and it was so funny, like having men helping girls to sew pads. And the second thing, I can say the second strategy we are using to achieve more is, as you can see on this picture, this is one of our very new project that we started earlier this year in January, where we implement the school pad dispenser into school already. One and both of the school, they're in the rural area. And the main objective of this project is to evaluate how, because we have been hearing from so many of our beneficiaries saying that they miss out school because they don't have the pad. And we thought that making the pad available at the proximity of school, maybe it can reduce the school miss out. So those 2 schools we selected, they have a very high rate of miss out because of the lack of the pad. 2 on 3 girls have mentioned that they have missed their classes because of not having pad. And this really touched us, because we really work in rural area, and we wanted to implement this project for 6 months. It's a very costly project, because we are providing pad for 550 girls every month. And then we are also evaluating how impactful is this project. So what are the lessons learned and challenges from an organization that is community-based as ours? At the end of the day, we want every girl, we want every woman to have those listed products, no matter what. And we promote all kind of products. But one of the things is that from the past 4 years that we have been implementing our menstruation program, we have come to an understanding that young people are somehow open to the discussion. We remember when we started our menstruation program 4 years ago, we were having a lot of dark humor, and also so many people who were mocking us, like, how can you talk about such supposed to be a private things? How can you talk about that? But from now, we are having a lot of positive feedback from the community, because we use a lot of social media to do advocacy. So far, I can say young people and community, they are somehow open to start at least the discussion about menstruation. The second things we have learned is that the limit resources to address poverty period poverty is a big challenge, and I think it have been mentioned. I think in all middle south countries, it's a big issue, and the period poverty is not only to be addressed about the product, but also about the education. Like in Burundi, as I know, our organization was a part of some like organization that was selected to build what they call like comprehensive education on menstruation that was supposed to be implemented in schools. But I know up to now, it's not yet implemented yet. So we don't have like national policies that talk about menstruation. So this is also one of the challenges. And then the inadequate sanitation facilities have been said. I don't have to come on that. So what are the ways forward? At the end of the day, I really believe that we want girls to have access not only to products, but to good infrastructures. We want them to have access to education. We want them to have access to anything that can promote menstruation dignity. I really believe that multi-sectorial collaborative actions we be able to address all the challenges, not only working like a collaborative action between organizations who work on menstruation. But personally, I believe that working on menstruation require a lot. We need to lead a lot of advocacy work. We need products. And as it have been mentioned, there is like an inflation of products of menstruation. It's becoming more and more expensive. We need to remove taxes on menstruation, but this really require a collaborative actions. And I believe as the community of practice on menstruation in Burundi, if we all come up together, we will be able to come up with a very strong advocacy to help and sustain girls, especially those who are in need, and especially those who need different type of solutions. And as I like to say, we need to separate case. We need to go from case to cases. All cases are not equal. In menstruation, this is how we also start with our program. We have people who can afford pads, but who does not have education. We have people who cannot afford pads, but who can afford education. And for those people, sometimes they need free pads. And there are also people who can be trained how to sew pads. So we need to have like adapted solutions from every case. And I also think this also comes from a collaborative actions. Yeah, so this is some of the work we are doing. If you need to follow us and to follow some of the work we do, this is our social media platform. You can feel free to contact us or also to follow up with us. Our guide is available to be used anywhere for anyone who wants to implement it in their country. It's a very easy, practical, and a fun guide. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrice, for the good presentation. Now I think we'll go with Khalida Yasmin from Shanet Bangladesh to also share with us the success that they have gotten from the COP and also share with us the different challenges that they encountered. So Khalida, you are welcome.
Thank you so much, Katie, for inviting me to discuss here. At first, my gratitude and thanks to Zanat Munia for your excellent presentation. Already, she has mentioned the situation of our country aspect, the scenario of menstrual hygiene management in our country. Before 15 years, that is really difficult for us to talk about the situation of menstrual hygiene management in our country. However, that ice was broken by the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, and that journey was also started by Netherlands Embassy. I would like to share it confidently here. Now the Shanet Bangladesh is playing a very vital role. Last year, they have organized a very excellent program that was knowledge fair. They have organized all stakeholders, including the education sector, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Women and Children Affairs, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. All people were there. And it was an open discussion among the adolescent, among the advocacy persons, and the other people are also there. And ShareNet Bangladesh also work for the people, people of disabled person with disabilities who are also facing very difficult situation during the ministerial period, like our girls during the ministerial time. So I would like to share here, all is going well. However, we have some coordination gap in our country. Separate ministries are working here, but we have coordination gap among the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Children and Family Welfare, Ministry of Women and Children Affairs, and Education also. So need a coordination among us. And another issue is we have to work here deeply. You know, Bangladesh's urbanization part in our country is increasing day by day. So the people of the women of the ready-made garments, around 5,000 ready-made garments working in our country. So they are also facing very difficult situation during the menstrual period, and they are also facing the hygiene management situation. Already, Zannat mentioned that environment pollution. We are also facing that part because lack of management. We are working very well for menstrual hygiene, but management, environment management, we are so far from that situation. And maybe last 2 years started the menstrual cup in our country. That is a good scenario, and we are making understandable the garments people, garments owner, to take it seriously. And there was a study with support of Netherlands Embassy, that was return of investment. If you invest $1, you will get back $13. That was the result of the study. When they got and understand the situation, if I invest $1, I will get back $13 from our colleagues, from our clients. That was a very remarkable changes in the garments in our countries. So it is running smoothly now. However, we have to work very closely in the hard to reach areas. You know, Bangladesh also a very climate facing some difficulties for climate changes. ShareNet Bangladesh also started the journey in our country, but we have to work in the hard to reach areas, in the village areas where the girls are facing different type of problems. The women are facing different type of problems during the menstrual time, during the disaster time. During the disaster time, they have no support for the menstrual hygiene management. So these are some problems in our country. However, as the government, as the development partners, as the private sectors working combinedly, so we are hopeful for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Khalida. So we have talked about various successes and challenges encountered in the COPs, such as the lack of national policy, removal of taxes, where we have Colombia that has taken a step ahead in that. But also my last question that I will go with is, regarding with all that we have talked about, how can we ensure now that with the COPs can be for more a sustainable period? How can we ensure that COPs continue beyond ShareNet for a longer sustainability period? Yeah, either Patrice or Khalida, you can start with that.
I'd like to share my opinion here first. That is really a very good initiative of ShareNet International to meet together us, to discuss together us, and we are sharing our scenarios of our country. However, more interaction, more knowledge sharing documents like SBCC materials, that may be audio visual, maybe printing material, best practices of the countries, as I asked previously about the menstrual hygiene management of the unmarried adolescent girls, how you are managing. That was my query. For now, my query is how I will manage the management situation of menstrual hygiene. That if you have any best practice, we can share with us. So best practice can be shared, and fund really needed for some COPs who are working very closely in our country in the hard to reach areas. More fundraising is required for them. And another issue, advocacy with the government. government definitely working here. However, the comprehensive work is not, comprehensive situation is not working very well in our country. And the development partners also working here. It is also not working very well in our country. And the person with disabilities increasing in our country, maybe all over the country, all over the world. What is our thinking for them, for those peoples? And the climate change increasing, the situation increasing in our country day by day. So what is our thinking? We need the best practices sharing, SBCC materials, and that type of conferences yearly, that is really required. That's all.
Yeah, I can maybe add to that. I will just say like two things to complete Kaleda. I think like, for example, in Burundi, as far as I know, I mean, in the COP, we have so many organizations who are working on menstruation, but I think it's so broad, like everyone is working on his own, like we don't have the same agenda. I think having the same agenda will be really important, because we will bring up together all our voices, and then by then we can influence policies. I believe that if we have a collective advocacy, we can really influence policies in a way or another. And as I've said, I think we need to come up with a collective actions to be able to influence the policies, and to do a very strong advocacy, and to be able to have the national policies, to be able to remove all the taxes. It requires a lot of effort, but I think it's very possible when we put all our strength together and do it as a team and move forward. And I believe it's very possible. And in a country that is low resources as Burundi, I will more go for sustainable solutions. And I think from my experience that communities are very open to that. And but still, I will still on my point that there is a need of a collaborative actions, not only between the organization who are working on menstruation, but a collaborative actions in terms of we need anyone to come up, and we need anyone to come up so we can move together as a team.
Okay, thank you very much, Kaleda and Pachis, for your brilliant contribution to that. And I don't know if there is anyone from the participant that has any question or comment about the discussions that we had.
Is it okay for us to ask something? Joanna?
Yeah, for sure, of course.
Thank you. So I always get one questions from all of our members, that is like how we can sustain COPs beyond ShareNet period. Like even if the idea behind a community of practice is that we facilitate the initial discussion, and then we take this discussion forward. Our members takes this discussion forward, even if there is no ShareNet to support this community of practice. So my question to kind of everyone, and also the panelists like Kaladapa. It's lovely to see you, by the way. And Basis, what do you think about that? Like, what can we do about this?
I will go for, I will be more moving away of experience sharing. Because we mostly have the same background. If you read what is happening in Bangladesh, in Burundi, in Colombia, it's almost same thing. I really believe in the power of sharing experience, and I believe we have some like sustainable and lesson learned, for example, in Burundi, who can be implemented in another country. So I believe even if for some countries who don't have ShareNet in their countries, we can learn from each other and implement it. So I mean, it's not easy. I think especially from my experience, I've seen that it's not also so many international NGOs who are key to found a menstruation project, but I believe we can also start from the scratch and implement some small initiative and grow together.
Good. Thank you so much, Patrice. Since we're running out of time, I would like to really thank our panelists for today. Really, thank you so much for your insightful presentations and contributions to that. And I would really thank all the members for making this happen. So I will pass to Al to continue with the next point. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you everybody who has presented and spoken and also been here, whether you were here today or yesterday or both days. I'm sorry, is there still a question? I see that the hand is still raised. Is there still a question?
Not question. I have missed one thing. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
So to share, male participation, about male participation in our country. We are working also for that male participation and community participation. However, how you are working, or what is your opinion to work more closely with the male persons? You know, for the people in our country, and not only for the menstrual hygiene management, for gender issues, for violence issues, male is a major part of all over the country. So Shanat Bangladesh is definitely working here. However, do you have any idea or any plan or any suggestion how you are working in your country for increase the male participation regarding menstrual hygiene management, regarding menstrual regulation or violence against issue or gender participation? That was my question actually.
So we are running quite low on time right now. So if anybody wants to quickly answer that, or in the chat answer that, or exchange emails so that we can continue these conversations after, because I want to make sure that everybody gets out on time. So if you could do that in the chat, that would be great. And then I will repeat my thank yous to everybody for presenting. And I am going to move on to our closing activity. So we are going to do a Mentimeter activity, and we're going to discuss next steps, good practices, takeaways, and some challenges, and give some feedback on the event. And afterwards, we will have some closing words. Yeah. So if Shannon, you could please share the screen. So if you haven't used Mentimeter before, it is quite simple. You can either scan the QR code with your phone. You can join from your phone or your computer, or you can go to menti.com and you can put in the code that you see on your screen. And if everybody wants to go to that, then we will get started on that one. Everybody has logged in. So the first question here is, what good SRHR practices will you take away with you after this event? What good new practices did you learn about or were reinforced? I'm waiting to see if that text turns a different color, because I see that there is a response, but I cannot see it. I'm going to see what we can do from our end to fix the fact that I see you guys are answering, which is great, but we cannot see any of the answers on the Menti. So I am going to look on that, but please keep answering the question and I will read them out as soon as I can see them. You can also feel free to contribute in the chat if that works better for you. I think I have fixed it, which is great. The text is a bit harder to see, but we can at least see all of your answers. So we will keep it like that. So some of the good practices people will take away with them after this event. We have strength and unity, and also just sharing as a best practice, which is really great. Also menstruation practice, as well as experience sharing between COPs. I see a lot in here about sharing and exchanging, which is really great. And also about the abortion mapping. I see as well in the chat providing services to people like drug users and having safe abortion facilities. And a lot about collectiveness, togetherness, and working together on these SRHR issues and learning from each other. And more events, that's great. I will give 1 more minute for more answers, and then we will move on to the next question. And feel free to keep going in the chat and sharing contacts if you want to continue some of these discussions after the meeting. And I think for time, in a moment, we're going to move on. Yeah, go ahead, Shannon. Thank you. So next, and I'm going to fix again the problem here. Oh, thanks, Shannon. Next, we are going to talk about, it's good to brainstorm what your next steps would be if funding stopped. So how would we continue doing this work? And in the meantime, I'm going to fix the problem. I see taking responsibility of the COP to carry it forward, and then keeping activities going. Continue doing activities. So I really love seeing the commitment to continuing this work. And then ownership of the COPs. I really love the answer that most solutions do not require money, but passion and availability, which I think speaks to the connections that we're all making here today, because we are all really invested in this work, which leads to the next one, making an online or Telegram group to stay in touch and continue working together. All of these are really fantastic ideas to continue the work that we all are here doing. If anybody has anything else that they want to share. Again, you can keep thinking about these, contribute in the chat, and these are also questions to take away and think about in the context of our own work more longer term. Also promoting e-learning and sharing, and COP groups getting together to apply for grants and working online together. All really great ideas. Continue sharing the knowledge wider and collaborate with others to ensure more sustainable actions. And I think we're going to go on to the next one. So what are some of your biggest challenges with your work in SRHR? Of course, we are constantly and unfortunately talking about hostility and sensitive topics, as one of our sessions today discussed. Is there anything else that you encounter in your work that is particularly challenging? Because also a part of sharing best practices is also sharing the challenges we have and seeing kind of how other people are working with those and working to get over those challenges. Culture and religion sensitivity, it's good to take into account contexts. Absolutely. And we can all learn from each other's context as well, while knowing that something that works in one context may not work in another. I will wait a couple more minutes to see if anybody has anything. But these two do take up a lot of the challenges in the field. Get people to be available and able to put some time in. Yeah, that is always a challenge in the kind of work that we're doing. And more visibility of SRHR stakeholders. Time investment. A lot of people are, of course, doing this outside of their work or in addition to their work. And I guess that's, yeah, funding is a big challenge. I will give this one more minute and then we will move on to the next one. So get any last thoughts that you have in there. Low visibility of people / organizations working on sensitive topics. And I see in the chat that there is one here. I unfortunately don't speak French, so if somebody either wants to translate it or for the French speakers, if you want to take a look at that one. Oh, okay. Great, thank you. And then we also have more global funding. Talking and advocacy can work when infrastructure is lacking. How do you work if you don't have basic services or it can't work? So how can we even reach our goals if there is basic infrastructure that is lacking? And then I also see in the chat from Martijn, hard to work with policymakers as they don't put SRHR in their priority. And then, yeah, more engagement of stakeholders. So I see a lot of common themes here, and we are going to move on to the next one. Hopefully something a bit more hopeful than the challenges, but in a few words or ideally one word, what is your main takeaway from this event? And then we can create a word cloud to see how people thought about the event. And feel free to use the same words there if you agree with them, because then those words will just be bigger the more times that they're mentioned. A lot on learning, a lot of inspiration, exchange. And a lot of people have mentioned in the other slides that they really appreciate the opportunity to exchange and connect with each other. And you can keep adding to these, but just to keep us on time, I am going to move to the final one, which is a space for you to give us some feedback. So this is the first COP exchange event that we've done. So we would really love some feedback from all of you to see what we could do better next time. And again, ideally in a few words or a word, just so we can also see what the strongest points are. And in case it matters with the feedback for people, this is anonymous, so we will not know what you are putting for feedback here. And we really do want to know what we can do to make this event better next time. And positive feedback is also okay. And again, just in the interest of time, people can keep contributing to the Menti as they want to. And while you're contributing to that, I am going to hand it over to Doreen to give our closing of the event. But please feel free to keep engaging with the Menti because we will have all of that information later and be able to use that for future events. So I'm going to hand it over to Doreen to also introduce.
Super. Thanks, Al. I just want to close this meeting, these amazing 2-day meetings. This is the end. I haven't been able to join the whole day today, but I was there yesterday. So forgive me if I miss things or if I miss some points. But I'd like to say that I think we learned a lot about what COPs are and mean to us and our members, and particularly a lot about challenges and good practices. And COPs, they are really central or at the heart of ShareNet's work, at least at the country level. We all know, and I don't know how much that is brought up in these 2 days, that the international COPs are especially challenging. But at the ShareNet International office, we feel that there is a responsibility for us to facilitate cross-country learning. And it was a long wished for moment that we could facilitate this event to facilitate cross-country learning and bring you all together. It was something that was already identified in our midterm review. So I'm very happy that it happened finally. And I'm also very happy to see that there was a lot of active participation. At some point yesterday, I counted over 80 people. So that has been great. Maria closed the other day and she said something about our 10-year anniversary. So this year, ShareNet International exists 10 years. Some of the country hubs exist way longer. ShareNet Netherlands already 20 plus years. We are talking about celebrating, about showcasing what we have achieved and what we are doing good. But at the same time, we're also talking about the future and talking about sustainability. And you were already guided to think about about sustainability just now in the Mentimeter. And I wanted to point out one thing that I missed, that is that COPs are not always there to be sustained. Sometimes also a COP is just finished because a mission has been accomplished. So there is also something about a COP is there to work on a certain task, and then when that task is accomplished, maybe there is another urgency and another COP or mission can be identified and worked on as a group. Nevertheless, I think it is really important to think about how to sustain or to look for support other than ShareNet for some of the COPs. And I think there are loads of opportunities. So the ideas that came up in the Mentimeter, I think they're very nice ideas. And I think there's many organizations that are inspired by the way how we organize COPs and are even interested in our support in facilitating COPs. So I think that is great. I wanted to mention also one more thing about moving the SRHR agenda, especially because of the sensitive issues were discussed today and came also up again as challenging just now. I think that moving the SRHR agenda requires change and openness to change. And of course, cultural and religious context, we all need to be very sensitive about it. But I think we should also be brave and be change agents if we want SRHR to become a common good for everyone. So I think we as a community, ShareNet members, we are change agents, and it is our responsibility also to be brave to discuss where changes are needed, of course, with respect for the sensitivities. But yeah, if we don't change, then this SRHR agenda and SRHR for all will never happen. I want to also thank everyone for the excellent organization and facilitation and communication around
these 2 days. First of all, my lovely team, the ShareNet International Secretariat, and some of you have spoken, some of you have been in the pictures, some less, and we're very busy behind the screens. For these events, we need to work all together and be very busy also on chat and so on. So thank you for that. That has been great. But there were also all the country hubs and staff in the country hubs, not just the coordinators, who have done an excellent job in facilitating. And facilitation is a skill. Some people are naturally gifted, others have really been working hard and are growing tremendously. It is very, very challenging to facilitate in a language that is not yours. So my true respect for those who have been very brave to do that. So yeah, thank you for that. I want to thank also everyone for their active participation. So all members, all panelists, all speakers, thank you for that. And yeah, what else to say? Hope to see you in our next meeting. And there was one thing that I wanted to say. If you haven't done so, look at our knowledge product library. Maybe someone can put it in the chat, because that is great. And COP knowledge products are also there. So that's it. Thank you. And back to Al, or just a wave to goodbye.
Just a wave to goodbye. You said it all. Thank you, Doreen. And thank you, everybody, for attending. Have good mornings, days, night, whatever time zone you're in.